Come June 21, it will be decision day for the people of Ekiti. 18 candidates are gunning for one seat.
I am the next governor of Ekiti.
But the people will have the final say.
I know that tolerance has a very big place.
Join extensive coverage of the election and get up to the many details as development unfolds.
I'm the voice of Ekiti people.
With expert analysis from the best political team on television.
And that's honesty of INEC. Without
Join us all day June 21 to find out who emerges the next governor of Ekiti State.
We have agreed to move this state forward.
Keep a date with us on Core TV News. You can also watch us live on our website on www.coretvnews.com, a 24-hour news station.
Welcome back, and if you've just joined us, you're watching our continuing coverage of the Ekiti State governorship election. Joining us right now is one of our correspondents, Biola, who is in Ekiti West local government area. Biola, tell me exactly where you are and what is going on there.
Okay, I am in Ekiti West local government, specifically in Junior town. Now, Ward 5, the people of Oyomokori and the farm settlement are arguing on where to site the polling unit for Ward 5.
Are you saying accreditation has not started in that area if they are arguing over where to site?
Have not started there, and according, I just spoke to the INEC supervising resident commissioner of INEC in Ekiti West local government now, Malam Sadiq Abubakar Musa, saying that they are calling for a reinforcement of security agents to ensure that each of the towns shift ground on where the polling booth should be sited. And if they fail to do that, he has the power to cancel the election.
Tell me, why are the people fighting? Why are they bickering over where the polling unit should be sited?
Okay, initially, the Holy Spirit was at fire in the farm settlement, where some people claim that the place is now obsolete. The place is now, people are not appealing the place any longer. Some people are now claiming that they should move the polling unit to Oyomokori from Ireju, which is not going down with others are claiming that the polling unit should be left at Ireju town, Ireju farm settlement.
This is really serious. So what exactly has the INEC has the head of the INEC there now? That's the electoral officer has
the head of the INEC here. His position is the same to abide with what he's saying. He has said they should write a letter to INEC. He said he has called the INEC chairman, Professor Atari Rujega, and he has put him on speaker for the people to shift ground to ensure that they have the election. As I speak to you now, accreditation has not started yet.
And this is past 11 a.m. accreditation, and we understand voting is supposed to be, accreditation is supposed to end at 12?
By 12, yes. And from the looks of things now, if they fail to do the accreditation before 12, all the voters here, because I learned there are 240 registered voters in Ward 5. Will be desensitized.
But did the INEC officials get there early enough?
Yes. They said they got the point to the site 8 a.m. Aside this in Ekiti West, all the places visited, it has been each free. Electoral officers were seen at the different polling units as at 8 a.m.
And how has the turnout been? I mean, turnout of voters.
Very massive across local government.
All right, thank you very much, Biola. Thank you very much. Just keep us posted for the developments. We just hope the people are able to resolve their problem there, get the polling unit sited somewhere, and begin accreditation right away. Thank you very much, Biola. But just keep tabs on further developments there, right? Well, our correspondent Biola there telling us that in Ward 5 in Erigion, that's somewhere around the Ekiti West local government area, that the people are actually bickering, arguing over where the polling unit should be sited. And this is past 11. It's actually surprising because we understand INEC officials actually got to that area early enough, as early as 8 a.m. And the people just can't seem to agree on where the polling unit should be sited. Fighting over where a polling unit should be sited at about 11 a.m., then that's terrible because they run the risk of not taking part in this process. And do not forget, he said, as our correspondent said there, 240 registered voters. And I've been joined by Mr. Gbenga Onaiga. Thank you very much for coming on this special program looking at Ekiti State governorship election. Tell us what you make of this argument. It's quite surprising. In the past, it would be that INEC did not arrive at a polling unit on time, but in this case, I'm talking about a region that our correspondent just told us about. The INEC officials got there on time, and the people can't seem to agree where to site the polling unit.
It's disappointing, really. Something as trivial as, or as simple as where to site a polling unit. I mean, it's been argued upon barely 30 minutes to the close of accreditation. Who would have expected the people to have raised this issue before now? Because I expect them to have known the location of a polling unit. Maybe it's one of the polling units newly established anyway. But I want to believe that there is more to it. Maybe the communities or the people involved had some other problems before now. If not so, I mean, I'm sure it's the same vicinity. It's a matter of casting
surprising.
their vote. They are there already, but bring it here, take it there. It's unfortunate, and I won't be surprised. And personally, I will support INEC if the people refuse to sort out their differences. INEC should just cancel the voting there.
Because that's a recipe for crisis.
That is it. I mean, we had the reporter saying things are going on fine in other places. So it can't be because of just one polling unit mess up the whole thing.
Let's look at the number of registered voters in this election, 733,100 and something. And then INEC has said about 200 and something thousand would not be allowed to vote because they don't have their permanent voters card. And of course, you take that number out from the 700 and something thousand, you're left with somewhere around 400,000. You think from what he's told us now that we're having massive turnout, but then we also know that not all the voters will come out to vote. Do you think we're looking at an election that would probably produce very few number of registered voters, maybe in the region of 100 and something thousand, eventually would have to decide who the governor of Ekiti State would be?
It's not out of place. I believe INEC should be firm. People were given enough time, enough opportunity to collect the permanent voter's card. And if INEC decides to bend the rules this time around, that, okay, let's take the temporary card. I can assure you when it's time for the elections proper next year, the general election, people may, make a similar request. So it's like, I see it as a sort of a signal to the rest of us out there, yet to collect our permanent voters register, to do so before the general election, because that is the ultimate, because people can play games with this temporary voters card thing. So I see nothing bad in it.
Tell me how important you think this election is, because people have said, look, this is a dress rehearsal for 2015. That the outcome of this election is not just important for one political party, it's important for basically two political parties, the APC and the PDP, that this is some kind of proxy war now between the president and the leaders of the APC.
Well, yes, I enjoy what is happening. I'm really enjoying it. Beside the violence, that erupted some days to the election proper, I abhor that, and I believe whoever is interested in the entrenchment of democracy in this country should condemn the violence. Besides that, the way things have been going on, a couple of days we had stories about fire shades, whether we were disqualified or not, or even EFCC talking about it. And it's all, people are playing games, because I was wondering that when I cleared the man, when the due process, so to speak, was followed, where were they? Why should it be a few days to the election? These are things you expect in politics. And it will either work against him or work for him. I mean, anyway, this is not the time to go into details of, the laws are there to guide us. I see the conduct of this election as a pointer to what's likely to happen in the general election proper. But one interesting thing I'm seeing this morning, and I'm very happy about it as one of those really eager to see a free and fair election, for goodness sake, next year, is what's been reported about INEC so far. They got to the materials from what you've had so far.
That they got there very early.
Very early, and then they turn out impressive. Sincerely, that's my prayer for next year's
Well, after
election.
the fiasco in Anambra State, you would expect INEC to up its game, because that's what Professor Tahiru Jaga told the country then, that what happened in Anambra would definitely not happen.
I think they're working towards that. I watched on your station the other time when the materials arrived, the agents of parties were there, observers were there, the resident electoral commissioner, even Professor Olurode, who is the National Electoral Commissioner for that, I think, Southwest zone, or geopolitical zone, was right there. Transparency in action. So so far, I'm impressed with the seriousness with which INEC is handling this election. It's obvious to some of us that they really want a free and fair election and for the best candidate to emerge. It's now left for us as a people to also play our own part. Like the game that is happening at every region or so, I don't find it funny at all. I don't find it, if care is not taken, that will be magnified by a section of the media, and before you know it, nobody talks about, like what happened in Anambra. I'm not saying they mix up somewhere in one of the local governments or so units is good. However, it was generally peaceful. We all know what worked out in Anambra. Some people went to the grassroots and campaigned thoroughly, while others, relied solely on Lagos, Abuja media, and what have you. So people were not really, the real people voted, as far as I'm concerned.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
I asked you the question, but let me just put it in another way.
Okay.
Let's take a look at the PDP and the APC.
Yep.
Tell me what they have at stake in this election.
They have a lot at stake because it's from all indications like PDP is determined to wrestle that state back. Mind you, the PDP was in charge before the courts, ruled, and then APC or AC, and then took over, and what have you. It's interesting the way PDP has really bounced back, because when you watch the two candidates, I'm talking about the two candidates of
APC
and they really worked hard. They didn't take chances at all, and that's how it should be. Beside the violence, I mean, we should all condemn that, but they all campaigned vigorously.
Do you think
Fayose did not say that, yes, I was there and I will get it back on a platter of gold? He went all out, and the incumbent governor did not take chances. And I like that. If he comes back, he will know that is he just fold his arms and then he will want to work. He really is working hard to bounce back, and that's how it should be. Let people work for whatever victory.
Some people have said the president is showing enormous interest in this election, and that the reason is just simple and straightforward. 2015, if he chose to run, he needs the Southwest, and that now is the time for him to make a statement on the Southwest, that if the party is able to get Ekiti State, then he would be on the road to probably reclaiming Southwest for himself in 2015.
If I were to be in the shoes of the president, I would do the same thing. Mind you, the president is basically a politician. If he decides to contest, he needs Southwest. At worst, you would want the whole of Southwest, or at least split the vote of Southwest. So you expect him to show interest in what is happening in the election in Southwest, in Ekiti, and then Osun. It's understandable.
How devastating would it be for the APC? I mean, we're not talking about the outcome, but we just have to say this. How devastating do you think it will be for the APC to lose this?
I remember, maybe it's too early to talk about losing now, because I remember an interview later, Chief Obafemi Awolowo was granted, I think towards the 1983 election, on live TV then, and he was asked this question that, Mr. Presidential candidate, sir, if you lose this election, what would be your attitude? And he gave it back to the interviewer that, please don't tell me about losing, because it's like a student working hard, reading hard for an exam, maybe on the eve of his exam, and you are now asking him, if you lose, that is negative, that he is going
well, they say in politics, anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Anyway, let me go back to football. I just like that response, because yes, he eventually lost that election, but he made it clear that he was not working towards losing. He was determined to win and stuff like that. It would be devastating for APC to lose this election, because we all know the Southwest is a stronghold APC.
Especially when you consider the fact that the APC has lost a series of elections. It lost Anambra, it lost the by-election in Delta. It has to end that losing streak.
APC is soft-holding its arms, and you know that's why. I mean, the governors were mobilized to move in some days ago, but something happened, they couldn't. So it's all politics, and APC would like to do everything possible to hold on to that state.
All right, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we have one of our correspondents, Rashid. Rashid, if you can hear me, Rashid, tell us exactly where you are and give us a situation report from there.
Hello?
Hello, Rashid, if you can hear me, I'm asking for a situation report of from where you are.
Okay, right now, the situation is
no, first of all,
peaceful here.
Just hold on. First of all, I want you to tell us where exactly you are before you go on.
Okay. Right now, we are in Isho, the hometown of the city governor, Governor Kadi Fayemi.
Okay.
And the polling unit where we are now is the front of Akpata's house. And the unit code is 009 in Isho.
Very good.
Town of the sitting governor here in Oye local government. That's exactly where we are now. And right now, of course, we're through with the residents of Isho here. And they're all through with the accreditation right now.
Oh, really?
Waiting for the arrival of the governor to come so that he and his family actually, the people were actually waiting for now. The security men, the press crew from different private owned stations were all present here waiting for the arrival of the governor.
So basically what you're telling us is that the governor and his wife or family members have not done the accreditation. You're waiting for them to come do the accreditation, right?
Yes, exactly. They are not yet arrived now. And before now, of course, a lot of things have been happening here. We have over precisely 288 valid register voter, but not all of them were allowed to be allowed for accreditation.
Why?
Because they do not. Some of them do not have the permanent voter card. As a result of that, they were turned back, and this obviously it shows that they were not quite happy with this development so far.
So you mean most of them didn't know that they would not be allowed to do accreditation and vote without their permanent voter's card?
Well, the body language from some of them who were turned back home is that they understood that they were supposed to do accreditation. Maybe lack of education, or maybe they were not just well, I say briefed very well on how to go about it. But they were here, and of course this morning we saw some of them turn back, a development which some of them were not quite happy with, obviously.
Are you getting a sense, Rashid, are you getting a sense of enthusiasm from the... Okay, I understand you're actually Frank. I'm sorry, I got your name wrong now. Are you getting a sense of enthusiasm from the people that they actually want to take part and they want to vote?
Yes, especially with some who have a regional voter card, I mean the permanent voter card, were actually happy. They came out en masse to exercise their voting right, and they were quite happy with the development, especially the presence of the security men. The whole place is peaceful, except for that the situation earlier that I said they were not allowed for the accreditation because some of them do not have the permanent voter card. Except for that, but as it is now, most of them, they were all happy that they came out to be, accredited when voting will start.
So basically, you're telling us that INEC officials arrived at the polling unit on time, materials got there on time for accreditation to have ended by this time.
Yes, the INEC officials here in Isho, the whole hometown of the sitting governor, Kaode Fayemi. They arrived at about 10 a.m. in the morning, and the accreditation didn't start until about 8:49 a.m. In the morning. That's exactly the time accreditation started proper in the morning.
All right, Frank, thank you very much for giving us that situation report. Just keep a tab on developments there and let us know if anything significant crops up, right?
Yeah, thank you very much. Just before I hang up,
okay.
There's the helicopter hovering around in the town, here, the hometown of the sitting governor. I guess it's just a security surveillance to announce the coming of the arrival of the governor. So everyone here, the press crew, both the security men, we're all waiting for the arrival of the governor.
But I hope the people are not scared. I mean, that the huge security presence in the state is not putting them off or putting them away from coming out to exercise their franchise.
Not at all. Most of them are even happy with the development so far. But earlier, about 1 or 2 hours ago, we have the National Commissioner for INEC walking here. And according to him, he actually accused the security men of delay, some hiccups, such as late arrival of INEC officials in some polling booths around here. Why? Because they were supposed to accompany them to some of these polling units here, but some of them actually didn't, live up to that responsibility on time. So some of them actually, but here specifically, they arrived 10 minutes past 8 in the morning. But in some other polling units around Oye local government, we heard, according to information, some of them arrived late because the security men were not on ground on time to accompany them because of the sensitive materials they have to convert to different polling units around the Oye local government here.
All right, Frank, thank you very much for that update. Just stay in touch, right?
Yep, thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, our correspondent Frank reporting from Ishon, that's in Oye local government area where the governorship candidate of the APC and the incumbent governor comes from. I still have Mr. Oniagi here with us. Onayiga here with us. Sorry, I'm sorry about that. Now, it's quite surprising what we're getting, the kind of information we're getting. INEC seems to be ready now, but the security guys are not up to the scratch, because we got a report earlier from one of our correspondents he said the same thing, that the INEC official said, look, they came very early. They were waiting for security men to come accompany them to the polling units. The security men just didn't show up. Now we have that situation here again. So this time it's not INEC, it's the security agencies.
That's quite unfortunate, because I think we have up to 12,000 police. 12,000
policemen.
And not talk of
civil defense. Civil defense, about 12,000 as well.
I mean, there's no reason for that. And one will have, I don't know. It's all these stories. You keep learning every day. We keep making all these mistakes, logistics, and what have you. We hope it will be perfected. I've been one of the advocates of staggered election. And that's what is happening. Thinking that to give us all the time, to really mobilize, like what's happening now, so many resident electoral commissioners right now in Ekiti and what have you. So there shouldn't be any reason for all these lapses. Now, INEC seems to be getting it right, but the security agencies are more or less, messing up some aspects of this election. I hope that will be perfected, because we saw the IG the other time, assuring Ekiti people and even the Nigerians of the readiness of the police to do this. Because I'm talking about the police now, because I mean, the police stands out, so to speak, in the whole arrangement. So it's unfortunate. I want to believe it's all these.
And there's no question that INEC will be under enormous pressure to perform, given what happened in Anambra State.
In fact, I've attended some of the briefings, while in Abuja, and I could see the seriousness. The guy doesn't want to fail. He knows he has a name to protect, and if he cannot get it right with Ekiti and Osun, then forget about next year. So they are very eager to get things right. But I don't know. They call it human problem or whatever. All these, but these things should have been envisaged. Like, for instance, the security men accompanying the INEC officials, one would have expected them to be located near where those officials would be. Since last night, we have people who have taken part in as electoral officers and everything. Already they are supposed to sleep in a particular place so that they can take off early in the morning. INEC seems to have fixed that one properly, but now the security agencies, we hope something will be done urgently.
Well, we hope something is done, but look at the candidates, 18 candidates for just one position. You think it's a healthy development? And then I also want you to also consider the fact that in a particular town, you have 6 candidates.
I laughed when I had that analysis. Let me commend you the way you just broke everything down, and I was even wondering what is left for some of us to analyze, because you just painted a picture. But from experience, I see something happening. I think it's deliberate, because some of these candidates are spoilers, so to speak. It's good for democracy. Let as many candidates come out. However, it's not tidy.
Not tidy.
It's not tidy. And again,
and we know some are just not serious.
I said it's deliberate because they are from the same place with a candidate. I can bet my life for it. In a couple of hours after the declaration of a particular candidate or whatever, you see some of these candidates almost immediately, they must have been writing their speeches now, declaring support.
Conceding.
So
even if they had just 2 or 3 votes.
It's part of the game, because some of them, they knew all along that they would not make it. And why are they from a particular location with a similarly strong candidate? It's just to
whittle down his votes.
Exactly. So that's what is playing out. Again, I'm happy about what's happening in this country. We are now, it's obvious that 2 parties are now evolving naturally. Yes. I was an advocate of 2-party system. We're part of the other arrangement under Babangida, so to speak. I was a journalist. I'm still a journalist. But we believe that we needed 2 strong parties. Then SDP and NRC. But what went wrong, was the imposition of those parties by government. That was the only thing that was wrong. Ideologically fantastic. A little to the left and a little to the right, But it was criticized just because Babangida then seemed to have imposed those parties. But what is playing out now is that 2 strong parties are evolving, And when we talk about Ekiti, sincerely, we talk about PDP and APC. Others are just, supporting. So eventually, in a couple of years, I see Nigeria, doing something similar to what is happening in the US now, having 2 strong political parties. So the question of 18 candidates contesting this election, forget it.
Do you think this election, the outcome of this election, will throw up the kind of controversy we saw in the last election? The last governorship election in Ekiti State was, well, permit my use of the word, crazy. The election lasted for a very long time. At some point, it was declared inconclusive. Then they had this supplementary election.
Anambra, you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about Ekiti. Okay. Ekiti, yes, the last governorship election, the one that produced, and eventually, of course, the case went to court and all of that. You look at all of that. You think this will be different? You think at the end of this election, you would have a situation where the other candidates will just say, okay, guys, we concede defeat. You have won. We accept. You think that's going to play out this time?
That's my prayer. We should be growing. By now, we should be seen to have learned some lessons, and I want to believe that the candidate that loses will concede.
Sorry, let me just pause you there. Oh, we lost that signal. Well, that's the governor of Ekiti State. That's the incumbent governor actually going to cast his vote. We're still going to bring you that picture again. So just continue to stay with us. We lost the signal. We're going to come back to that.
That's politics in action, because this is barely...
almost 12 o'clock.
Almost 12 o'clock. The agriculture will stop at 12.
Or 12:30.
No, whoever is on that line.
Yeah, exactly. They would have to finish the accreditation before.
Once you join the line, even a minute to 12, the rule is that it should be accredited.
And that is true. So there's nothing wrong with that.
But it's part of the game. If not, so why wait till now? Anyway, it's understandable. It's understandable. And going back to the question, you asked about
whether the losers would concede defeat, congratulate the winner, and let things just go, and not have this long drawn legal process like we had in 2010 back the last election.
We pray will not go to that kind of situation disturbing the courts about things, about this game called politics. And we believe the people of Ekiti and the candidates, particularly the leading candidates, they've learned their lessons, they're enlightened enough to learn to concede defeat.
And the process is transparent.
Yes, and the way INEC is going about it, if sincerely, if INEC continues to be up and doing, and if candidates are convinced that yes, this thing was done transparently, I see the candidates conceding defeat. There's nothing bad in it. Let's try it for once, for goodness sake.
And I think you're right. I mean, when a candidate knows the process is very transparent, free and fair, it will just be useless going to court. It
will be useless. But let's go back to the instance of Ekiti, where people were, I mean, we've not had any big name actually been at the forefront of that disagreement. We were to locate the polling booth. But these things are distracting. They should be discouraged. They should be discouraged. Just citing polling booth and 200 and so candidates will, I mean, voters will be disenfranchised. It will be very unfortunate. It will be very, very unfortunate if that protest continues.
No, I mean, you're quite right. But generally, how do you think this is going to play out eventually? You think everything is going to go on peacefully? Because it's still early days yet. I mean, it's still accreditation. You normally would not have problems. It's voting, and after voting, that's when you begin to have some of the problems. That's when you begin to have, you know, suggestions of people saying some candidates were trying to rig, or, you know, ballot paper tampering and all of that. But do you expect this to go very well?
I do. One unique thing we've observed so far, as pointed out in your analysis, you know, based on reports from the correspondents out there, and I'm quite impressed that you have quite a number of them who are giving us...
Yeah, scattered across the state, actually.
One unique thing about what has happened, and which Nigerians should actually celebrate, is this idea of election materials, getting to their destinations, to the various polling units in good time.
Good time.
Sincerely, anyway, maybe it's too early to start commending INEC, but we should give it to them that at least they played their part. In areas where these materials didn't get there in good time, you blame security agencies for that. And I wouldn't blame the officials too for not just going there without security agents. Nobody's in a hurry to die. I mean, youth corps members are involved. We have our children out there. I would not advise my child, for instance, involved in that thing, to go there without being assured of a protection. So you can't blame INEC, you can't blame the ad hoc staff for that. You blame security agencies. And I believe they are trying to tidy things up. So you give INEC till about this time a pass mark on that. But the action proper is casting a vote and then counting.
Counting and collation.
And collation. And then this idea of, what's it called now? Keeping a tab on the exercise. You see, because I hope you've resolved that. Because some parties are saying, after voting, don't go far, stay there.
Yeah, stay
and monitor the counting and the announcement. While security agencies are still advising that.
As soon as you vote, go.
Go. So that area is yet to be sorted out. To the best of my knowledge, has started to be corrected. Because the fear of security agencies that if people hang around,
they might cause trouble.
They might cause trouble, you see. However, from experience, some politicians are saying, no, it's not enough for you to cast your vote. You must hang around, witness the counting of the votes, and then the announcement of results in that particular polling unit, so that you can also take note. And at the end of the day, while INEC is doing its own collation, you do your own collation and see whether they tally.
So as the people go to vote now, what do you think will rank most in, on their minds? Because, some people have done an analysis of the average Nigerian voter that usually, most times, voters don't really vote on issues, that they vote on sentiments. So what do you think?
In the case of Ekiti, you gave the analysis now, and the former guest, that every compound, every household has a number of professors. They are quite enlightened. It's not just one of those states. It's a state that is highly... So
you think the elections will be, this election will be about issues and not...
I think it should be about issues because...
it should be,
it should be.
You're not sure.
It will be. It will be, because I believe people are educated enough in Ekiti to know who is deceiving who. Interestingly, the two major candidates have had an opportunity to have ruled us to speak. If IME is still there, I promise you so and so thing, and they have told us.
You would expect that the people would sit down and say, okay, let's compare their performance in office. Let's see what candidate A did while he was in office compared to what this guy did while he was in office, and then we'll do a comparison and we'll decide.
Exactly, because
So
even Fayose,
you're saying, for instance, the candidate of the PDP and that of the APC will be judged on performance.
yes, because even Fayose kept referring to what he did when he was there. I did this, I did that. And I like what one of the TV stations did recently, when some people came on air and denied certain things that a particular political party was making claims that were not tenable, and they took their camera to the areas concerned and then came up with a result that, I mean, you can't start going into details of that now, so as not be accused of influencing vote. It's good. The media too is doing well in terms of, it's not enough for you able to come to the studio, or politicians to come to the studio and make spurious allegations. You should go a step further to verify how authentic these allegations are. We saw that play out some days ago, and I urge our media houses to do more of that. Politicians cannot just be coming and opening their mouth and misleading us. We should verify.
Well, it's 12 o'clock. We just have to take a break here, and we'll come back and continue this discussion. So we'll take a break now. When we come back, this discussion continues. And of course, let's just go on the break. And when we come back, we'll have one of our correspondents give us a situation report from Ekiti.
Core TV News, expanding your view.